So the meeting is recorded. If you have any concerns, just switch off your camera. Thank you. So as I said, we're going to focus on points and a discussion that was already started, where we invited art teachers from across Europe to reflect on the challenges that are facing art and design teachers. We're going to focus on engaging you, the audience, as much as possible. So what I'm going to suggest is that you use the chat bar down on the bottom there to ask questions when people are speaking. I will then ask you to come forward. You can switch on your video, switch on your sound, and you can engage with the different panel members. I'm going to introduce the panel members in a moment. So if you can keep your questions short and focused, that way we can try and include as many people as possible, and we can try and cover as many different things that might be of interest to you, and so that we can have as many, as I said, people engaged. What else do I need to say? I think that's everything. I'm just going to mute everybody at the moment so that we can make a start. And as I said, if I invite you to come forward, please unmute yourself and switch on your camera as well. Okay, so we have a range of panel members. Teresa, Gabriela, Maria, Ernst, Angela, and Victoria have all agreed to take questions and agreed to respond to the things that are of interest to you. They're going to introduce themselves, because I think that's quite nice that they can say what they want about themselves. And they're also going to make a very short statement just to sort of stimulate the questions, just for you to think about who in particular might want to speak to and who in the panel you might want to direct questions towards. Takes a big breath. Please be patient with me. I'm going to have to multitask. I am a man, and so I will get it wrong many times with the multitasking. So please forgive me in advance if I miss your questions in the chat, or if everything's going on all at the same time. So please be patient, and please do ask and enjoy. So Teresa, did you want to open and start for us? Introduce yourself.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to this session, to this European Regional Council session. We are really pleased to see you all here. And I'm Teresa. I'm the president of the Portuguese Art Teacher Association, APEC. I was InSEA president between 14 and 19. And right now I'm the InSEA delegate in the World Alliance for Arts Education. And I'm an art teacher, I'm an artist, and I'm a researcher, and among other things, I'm a mother, and I'm someone really committed with environmental issues, sustainability, and social inclusion. And my concerns right now is how arts and education through arts can help to build a positive future in these climate change conditions, and the pandemic situation, and after the pandemic situation. So this is my concerns. I'm looking forward to listen to you. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Teresa. Maria, would you like to go next and speak? Introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. May I share a PPT presentation? Hello, my name is Maria Letsiu. I'm the Secretary of European Regional Council of InSEA. I'm very happy to join this panel. I live in Greece, in Thessaloniki, and I teach art education classes in teacher preparation for kindergarten of the Aristotelic University of Thessaloniki. I have to say that I'm very happy to participate in such a fantastic conference, and I would like to congratulate the organization committee for this important and unique opportunity that gave us these days. What is of some of my research interest is the online, the youth online communities. That was a topic of art education research the last 3 decades, and I'm referring to the digital visual culture paradigm. And during the pandemic and after my participation in the first online InSEA seminar, some issue arise how the online communities can be used in art education, not only as a case of students' experience, how we can insert student experience in art learning, but also as strategies, learning tools and content of art education in order to engage students in learning, but also in order to create a sense of community. That is very important in our days because we suffer for social distancing and separate for friends and other people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Ernst, would you like to go next and introduce yourself?
I'm trying. Okay. My name is Ernst Wagner. I have the honor to be the chair. Can you see?
Yep, it's coming up. It's fine.
Which is called the transformative power of the pandemic. Is it the right one?
Yep.
Okay. I have the honor to be the chair of the European Regional Council of InSEA, and I'm based in Germany, in Munich, in art education. And I'm very happy that, and I'm very thankful for Andy that he organized this first webinar. And I just summed up a few thoughts after the webinar, which was called the post-pandemic practice in Europe, relearning, rethinking, and reframing. And after the webinar, in my mind, I changed the title, and I would now call this webinar the transformative power of the pandemic, because I think going through the pandemic, we will have to change art education. And the question is, what can we learn from this situation we are facing at the moment? And what already Maria just mentioned is that there are, of course, new digital means, new digital formats we can learn from this. And what I learned from the webinar is that there have been excellent examples of, for instance, everyday exhibitions in Greece, collective diaries, creating a YouTube channel in UK, using social media, and so on and so on. But also, in regards to this, a problem arose. So the question is, what is about the digital divide? What is about the people who don't have access to these digital means we can now use in the future in a more intensive way? The next lesson I learned is that there are new places for learning. For instance, art making at home changes the practice of making art between schools and at home. A third aspect is that new themes or new content is arising. For instance, that art education delivers a platform to express the feelings, for instance, in respect to the fear they feel at the moment, in respect to the situation. And the fourth lesson I learned is, especially from the Lapland example, where they don't have the pandemic, where they don't have COVID, any case in the area, so that we have to deal with the diverse situation in Europe. So these are my thoughts after the webinar, and perhaps this will kind of give some impulses for our future discussion.
Thank you, Ernst. There's some nice points there for us to, I'm sure people will want to think about the new content and the particularity of different contexts. So that makes perfect sense. So Gabriela, would you like to introduce yourself and just make a few points to start us off?
Yes, thank you. And thank you very much for inviting me to this great event. My name is Gabriela Pataki, as Andy mentioned, one of the 3 InSEA World Councillors for Europe, with my fellow councillors, Susan Coles from the UK and Mira Kallio-Tevin from Finland. And I can see Susan. Susan is on our side from my 2 colleagues here as well. I teach art education at 2 Hungarian universities in Budapest, at the ELTE talk and at the Moholy Nagy University. And I would like to mention here 3 topics. The first one, although I'm mainly responsible for art teacher training in Budapest, I'm also involved in programs for pre and primary school generalist teachers. I teach art for them, and if all the boundaries are lost in these surreal times, educators like they are, who have to develop visual competencies of children and don't have any support for that, is especially tough. So this is my first point, how to support people. They have to teach art, but they don't have any support for that. The second one, in detecting and solving problems, especially within the business of art education training, teacher training, from our everyday life, the main deficiency is in the human interaction between students in general, the lack of community. Social life is just as important as and inspirational as education, and the students miss each other as well. What approaches do we have for that? And the third one is how is the new normal looks like by looking into new creative spaces? Because I think we cannot just concentrate what and how we teach. We have to investigate the educational spaces now as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. I like the idea of the new spaces. I'm sure people might want to ask a little bit more about that. So super. Angela, can you introduce yourself next?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Angela. I'm from Portugal, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. I work in the area of art education. I'm artist, I'm researcher, I'm teacher, and I believe in the importance of art education for a more sustainable world. I strive for a good quality of public art education for all, respecting the diversity and culture of each person. I'm interested in the artistic education in and with community in formal and informal contexts and with contemporary art strategies. Now I work on international research projects with communities on the margins of society, experimenting artistic strategies with activism for their development. And I want to leave a question. Can contemporary art strategy develop important skills for the world we live in? So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I like your question, Angela. You're speaking to the right man about contemporary art. I'm a big fan, so as people will know. So Victoria, you're the last person on our panel and the last person to introduce themselves and speak.
Okay, hello, hi from Cyprus. I'm Victoria Pavlou. I'm working at the Frederick University. I'm an art educator. So a bit tricky to be the last because I think so many interesting points have already been raised. So I will try to offer my point of view. I believe that the pandemic gave us many valuable reminders as to what is truly important in life and in our workplace. So as an university art educator, I can now better appreciate how art education can be a valuable partner in achieving the most important role of education, its humanistic role, the need to respect life and human dignity, to promote equal rights and social justice, to respect cultural diversity, and to have a sense of shared responsibility and a commitment to international solidarity. I find that pre-service teachers, and I'm referring to primary generalist teachers, not art specialists, frequently lose sight of what is really important to teach and focus on rather narrow-minded goals within each subject matter area of the school curriculum. So curriculum's fragmentation is not the sole factor that contributes to this. We as their tutors need to offer them opportunities to make connections between every subject matter area and the bigger picture of what schooling should be about. Education does not exist in isolation, cut out of society and culture. Neither does visual arts education, having embraced the concept of sustainability. If we cannot imagine a better life, a sustainable future, a future where the well-being of all is ensured, then how can we claim it? The pandemic has threatened our ability to live well, to live healthy and free. It threatens world economy and has environmental consequences because of the increasing of our footprint on the environment. So under these perspectives, we need to rethink of what is the function of art education during the pandemic and how visual arts education can promote sustainable societies under this condition. So I think that the points that Ernst already raised earlier, or other Gabriela, are also very true for my context too. And I will leave it there.
That's very good. Thank you, Victoria. Some nice points there, definitely about thinking about a sustainable future. I'm sure people might want to ask about that. Okay, everybody. So that is your panel. Those are the sorts of, if you want, opening statements or the sorts of start points that they're quite happy to kick the ball off, keep the game rolling. But likewise, we're happy to sort of also think slightly more broadly and happy if there are other areas that people would like to ask. So please use the chat. Who would like to start and ask one of the panel to reflect on a question you may have? I can see Susan's making a comment about an artist called Maria Abramovich. Did you want to just make the point and see if that can sort of correlate a little bit more with what Victoria was saying, Susan?
I think what Victoria's awareness that the social justice thing in particular, I mean, we're all here online, aren't we? And what we are forgetting is about digital poverty and the social divide between the people that have and they don't have. And that just reminded me, because I was reading something where there was that quote from Marina, and I just think it's so important. It must belong to everybody. I'm not just talking about education. I'm just talking about art, experiencing it, making it, living it, loving it, all of those things. That's it.
Okay, thank you. The studio, did you want to make a point, a comment? I see that in the chat you've, I don't know what your, sorry, I don't know your name. It just says the studio PYM on my screen, so apologies. Oh, it's Penny. I can see you now. I can see you. That's sorry. I can see this Penny.
Was I not? No, I see. Yes, but I can't change my name for some reason. How stupid. So hi, everyone. I'm Penny Hay. I'm from Bath University and delighted to be here. It's brilliant. Thank you for inviting me. And I think a lot of the points just now from many of you, I think building on what Susan's just said, I think, you know, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I know it's been a crisis. It is a crisis and it's terrifying and tragic. However, it seems to me this is an opportunity to do things differently now and open up those spaces to have a, as you said, Ernst, you know, a new form of art education that builds on all of your kind of values around. That's why we learn so much from contemporary art practice, I think. So yes, I think what my question to the panel is, how would you do things differently?
Thank you. Do you want to direct it at anybody in particular, Penny?
Ernst, and then yeah, I like the idea of new spaces as well. So Ernst first.
Brilliant, thank you. Ernst.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to pick up what Gabriela said about the new normal. And I think this is what interests me most. And I don't know, so I kindly see a difference between Susan's argumentation and mine, because I think this quote of Marina Abramovic is a very idealistic quote, which is not at all realistic in our societal circumstances. So it is always about beliefs and big hopes. So what I would really be interested in, as I said, picking up Gabriela's aspect about the new normal. What is the new normal after the pandemic? How does art education look like in this new situation? And to consider this or to talk about this does not allow us to talk about to refer to concepts that are older, that are pre-pandemic. We have really to look at how artists today respond to the situation of the pandemic. And I think that's what we cannot do at the moment, because we are not aware of this, we don't know this. But I think we have to look very carefully to the artists, how they are reacting to the situation of the pandemic at the moment, and to see how art develops under these circumstances. And I think what Victoria mentioned, so this societal role of art and of art education and of education, this is the most crucial thing for the future.
Okay.
I don't know whether this was an answer to your question, Penny.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it comes back to that phrase, you know, opening up new spaces as well. I mean, Victoria, you mentioned the importance of kind of sustainability running through everything. Could you just say something about that going forward? Sorry, with all respect, Ernst, I don't like that phrase, new normal. I don't think we'll ever get back to a normal. Let's hope we don't. Let's go on. Let's go forward.
Well, with my students, what I found is that they frequently connect the idea of sustainability only through art, through environment. I mean, they are talking about only environmental art. And to achieve something, you must really have a clear goal in mind. So if it is not clear in the future teachers that we are talking about a sustainable society, we're talking about sustainable culture, if it is not clear to them, then how are they going to, give the learning environment to the children to achieve sustainability through art? I think that we need to bring forward the education through art at this point. I think that it's more important than the other roles of art, learning in art or about art. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm trying. I haven't got the solutions how to achieve that with my student teachers.
Thank you. Gabriela, did you want to just pick up? Because obviously some of this resonates with what you were saying with the art of new spaces. Would you want to add to this?
Yes, I hope you can hear if I'm speaking. If I'm saying new normal, it is like this. I don't like to show this, but I hope you can take it as a provocation of me. We are involved in a longitudinal research since 2017. And we are looking up spaces, art educational spaces since a couple of years. And it is very interesting to bring together all our data with the data of today, of this in this moment processed situation. And I think it is important to awake awareness, to be conscious. It is not enough to speak about what and how we teach in art. We have to be conscious where we are doing this. We closed two big researches considering visual skills development of little children. And one of the most important results is the impact, the huge impact of these educational spaces. And we don't, it is a little bit like a hidden curriculum, and the whole subject is somehow in the background. But please take my new normal phrase as a provocation and be on our side and help us to find new ways. This is a very important mark at the moment to see it is changing, but we can do it better if the life will be a little bit easier. And art education we have to change art education, as Ernst said, anyway.
Okay, good. Mark, Fritz, I can see in the chat, while we're still on this point, would you like to ask your question and clarify what you mean by the notion of old concepts? Can you switch on and speak, Mark?
Yeah. I just heard what Ernst said about not using old concepts anymore. And I'm not really sure, and I wanted to ask you, Ernst, do you really mean that? Because that would mean that all our old concepts, including the ones that, for example, you followed or you thought were correct before the pandemic, are obsolete, and we have to find everything new. Is that what you really mean?
Yes. Perhaps first allow me to come back to the question of the new normal. I don't want to take this as a provocative. I think this is what we always have to deal with. We have to deal with the contexts we are living in. And these contexts are changing from every time. And the new normal is a phrase for that something really happens at the moment. So the question of new is really addressing the question of how the pandemic influences the world, the global world at the moment. And if we don't want to miss what is happening at the moment in the world as art educators, then we have to take up this challenge and to look for answers. And looking for answers, I don't know how the answers will look like. So Mark, I don't know whether which concepts we can still use, whether we have to reframe the traditional concepts, whether we have to rethink them, to relearn them. That was the title of the webinar. But I'm sure that art education before the pandemic looks different than the art education we have to develop at the moment. And that's why I think the question of new normal is a very essential thing. And if we only stick to the old concepts, I think we will miss and we make ourselves superficial.
Can I just answer and ask something else? I very much agree that that there is and must be a change to what the core of education and art education is in that situation. I totally agree. I was just wondering if in your first answer you said yes, meaning we have to rethink everything and start from scratch and everything. And of course, we do not have the answers. If that is the way, we cannot have the answers now. But do you have any, say, first ideas where you think we should be going? It's not like final answers, but like directions, because I quite like the idea of thinking the whole thing from scratch. I do not think we actually can do that because of limited possibilities in our minds, but do you have any ideas where you think the direction or any first small idea could be?
Yeah. So what I mentioned in my paper, that there are 4 aspects, and I think that the 2 first aspects they are already addressing, and I think we can all agree on this because we have new formats, we discovered new formats, and we discovered new places of learning. For instance, what the teacher from Germany told in the webinar is that the creation at home is totally different from creation at school. So students who create at home invest more time, and suddenly students pop up that never pop up in the classroom situation. So I think, for instance, this is a change, and we have to face these changes and to see how we can deal with them. So this is the first, and I think we can all agree with this. And the second, which I'm totally confused about, is the question of how new themes look like. What is the function of art education in the future? From my own position in former times, I always was very much rejecting the question of therapeutic aspects in art education. I always said it is not our task to heal people, because this is something for professionals. But due to the pandemic, I suddenly discovered the healing aspect of art education. And that was, for me, it was a kind of revolution, really, to rethink art education. I don't know whether this is a good concept or not. So I cannot say something really about the future, but I'm aware of that through the experience of the pandemic, we really have new experiences, and we have to deal with this experience in a creative way and develop art education into the future.
Just one final remark. I'm very interested in where that is going, because we too disagreed on quite a few points in the past. And that could also be a starting point, not only for you and me, but to think things new and sort of get away from old tracks. And I'd be really interested in that. And I have one question, because I was too late for registering for the webinar. Is there a recording of that?
Yes, there is, Mark, and we're in the process of just editing it, and it should go up very soon. So yes, you're quite right. Thank you for drawing our attention to that, and just to say, it will go onto the website, the InSEA website, when it's completed.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm also interested in perhaps continuing to pursue that idea of the difference, and Angela quite rightly drew to our attention the importance of diversity and the importance in this new and embracing diversity. Angela, did you want to just layer a little bit more and add a little bit more? Because it strikes me that in the kind of, you're in the areas of this, what might the new be important to engage with?
Yes, I think the world is very different. We have lots of difference between in the countries. The South America is very different from Europe and Africa and so on. So we need to rethink and find new ways, or discover ways to do a better education through art for everyone. And we need to research more about the strategies in the other countries and in the diversity of the world.
Thank you, Angela. Janika has just asked a question that's kind of related. Janika, did you want to come to the mic and ask your question? And Kieran, I haven't forgotten you, by the way. I've seen your question. It's just that we're on a thread at the moment. I don't want to stop it. I will come back to you. Janika, are you still with us?
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to unmute.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
We can hear you.
So yeah, I'm very, it's a number of factors that make me ask the question. It's about privilege in this current situation. In lockdown, wherever we are around the world, there are ways that we can break it, especially in the visual media, even though it's not a perfect breaking. It's a little bit kind of alienating, even meeting you here on screen rather than being able to meet you face to face. But we can break it, but there are many who can't. And I'm thinking, first of all, I'm thinking about my colleagues in Bangladesh and Nepal who their universities have just closed down because too many of their students don't have internet. Only those in private universities are continuing working. So they're just closed down because the rural communities don't have the internet. And I had the opportunity to look through many of the workshops and the sessions online. And I saw some wonderful work of kind of compositions at home. But I'm wondering whether those also are those who are privileged not only with the internet, but with the parents who will resource that, who will allow that and kind of join the activity in some way. So are we creating a new environment where those who already have the social resources, not only the rich, but those who've got the cultural capitals, if you like, are getting the education, the opportunities to express themselves, to explore, and the others are just kind of sinking into, not necessarily a morass, because there are many other ways of being, but not joining in this activity that we call education. So that's my question. And
thank you. Some really important points there, definitely about the social justice agenda and clearly about access. Teresa, we were touching upon this before everybody arrived. Did you want to respond with your world sort of hat on to that sort of very important point that Janika just made?
Yeah, Janika, you have a point here. Is this divide, the digital divide between those who have the technology and those who don't have the technology. And I think we need to be really aware of this, and also be aware that internet is not the only tool. And maybe we should think in future that there are other ways of education, not only in schools, but family education, education in peers, education in groups, and all these settings that are educational settings must be really recognized as education. And that's the problem. We don't recognize family as an educational setting or a village. And indeed, there are educational places, educational sites. And I think we really need to reframe all our idea about what is education and where people get education, and why don't you recognize the education from the streets. I saw so many good examples in Latin America of the streets being educational settings. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Janika, but this is something I'm really thinking about, the places where we learn and they are not recognized.
Janika, did you want to respond to that?
No, I totally agree that there are forms of education, if we want to call them, of learning, of interaction, of social engagement that are well beyond our systemic ones. And then I'm also aware that in a time of closure, those are limited. And this is what we're talking about with lockdowns and coronavirus, and that those are limited because, I mean, the thing it's a privileged society that communicates online, privileged in an academic sense as well as an economic sense. The social interactions that happen around the tea stall, around the graffiti in the streets, break lockdown if they're going to happen.
Totally agree. I wonder, Kieran, did you want to come in at this point, because it is talking about your area of communities and different types of communities and practice in communities. Did you want to come in at this point?
Yeah, I think the majority of it's kind of been answered already, but it is that idea of if we are working online, even all of us here today, we can't necessarily see everyone. And only for this to work properly, only one person can talk at a time. And that sort of sense of the side conversation, or that sense of social interaction, is often lost or gone when you're engaging in a conversation online or a class online. So really, I was maybe kind of asking that question as to how do we maintain that sort of social interaction or maintain those side conversations on an online space. Now, Susan has sent me her keynote piece, which I can have a look over, which is great, but I was wondering if there were any other comments or how we might deal with that.
Thank you. Maria, you started to talk about online communities. Did you want to respond?
Yes, I think that what I introduced was a little in the opposite side of the most of the speakers' position about the online, how we use online tools in order to actualize learning objectives and pedagogy aims. I would like to comment on what Teresa said about what we have to learn from the everyday life. And this reminds me a story that I heard some years ago about Aboriginal children in Australia, that they don't want to go to school, and even their community values don't feel that school is important for them, because their culture teach them that the everyday life, the nature is a school, is a learning environment. So I believe that this issue of other values than the Western civilization values raised again, and we have to question and think about those values in current situation. Of course, we have the digital culture, and we have to take advantage for that, but we also have to learn from people and cultures that use other ways to learn and to have experience with life. I don't know, this is my point about one side the digital tools, and on the other side the everyday experience. And I would like to mention an example, because I'm thinking to have a project with my students, art education students, that will involve both digital tools like a Padlet platform and experience in the city. That means a kind of psychogeography. We wander in the city and we create new experience with location. And the end product will be small exhibition in different parts of the cities that we can see small groups of people. And in this case, we use digital tools to actualize learning, but also the possibility to meet in the city in different times and with smaller groups.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody want to respond to that? Angela, you were talking about people on the margins of society. I don't know whether that might be a pertinent link. Is there something you would like to add to that?
Yes, it's the minorities, like the people with disabilities, children, human, and the groups of the communities which are in the margins of the society, the poverty people, the employment people, these kinds of people. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And a little further back, I noticed that, was it Cherry was asking in the chat? Yes, Cherry was talking about apps and improving subject knowledge. Cherry, did you want to come to the fore and just speak a little bit about that, just to add to the discussion? Have we lost Cherry? Is she with us? I can't see her on my screen. Oh, she's still there. Perhaps she's gone. Okay, no problems. Look, I'm conscious of the time, everybody. We've been going now for about 45 minutes. So I wonder if in the last couple of minutes, if there's anything that anybody hasn't asked the panel, or if there's anything that the panel would like to add that we haven't covered, perhaps you could speak now so that we could start to think about winding up. Well, then in that case, then could I introduce Glenn? Can you hear us, Glenn? Are you still there? I know you're having trouble with your sound.
Yeah, I'm here.
You are having trouble with your sound.
Can
You do sound like you're in the bathroom. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wind up?
One second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. That's much better, Glenn.
Yeah, no, fascinating discussion, and I think the inclusive dimension has really come true to the fore for me. As some of you know, that's been a real area of concern of mine for some time, and even though I'm living in the UK and working in Finland, both relatively rich countries, even in Scotland, there's a huge divide. And I noticed that Susan had mentioned that some communities, some families don't even have a table to work on. And we need to remember that. We need to remember, and as Ernst was saying about transforming or revisiting what the general aims of art education, we have to have a real rethink. So this is a really healthy discussion, and it's so encouraging to hear this, to hear people really being open about this debate and sometimes disagreeing with each other. That's good to disagree sometimes if we end up with with new directions, but we can't take things for granted. I have no idea what the situation we're in just now is, but it's certainly new. And I wonder about this debate about the new normal as well. Maybe it's just shorthand for we're not quite sure where we are at the moment. And maybe we're not quite sure where we're going, but that kind of disruption is not necessarily a bad thing, especially in art education. And I love the mentions of contemporary art as well, because it poses questions for us. I mean, good art does that. It poses questions. It creates dilemmas and that is always for me an educational opportunity. Whether that's in a school setting or a community or a family setting, it's an opportunity. It's a learning opportunity, as someone referred to them as learning spaces or learning situations. So great discussion. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to the ERC for hosting. You've been great as always, and done a great job too, Andy. Thank you.
A pleasure. So once again, can I just thank the panel? Can I thank, obviously, for their contribution, Ernst, Maria, Gabriela, Teresa, Angela, Victoria, and obviously for all of you for coming and listening and asking and obviously engaging. So once again, thank you to Petra and obviously Jana. Petra, did you want to speak?
May I please? It was really a great pleasure for me to see you all here. Today was again full of communication between conference participants from all over the world. We are constantly editing our conference platform and editing new content. And I would like really thank to Andy and all the members of the InSEA European Regional Council. It is a really great honor for us. Thank you for attending our conference. It is absolutely crazy because we have more than 1,000 registered participants. So it is really a big surprise for us. And thank you to everyone for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Petra. As I said, it's a pleasure for us to be able to speak. So thank you. I'm just going to share my screen very briefly as we exit, just to sort of say to everybody that if you wanted to be a part of InSEA and joining in this conversation, then please do visit the InSEA website, www.insea.org, or you could also email the secretary at secretary.insea@gmail.com. We're a very large community of art educators, artists, art teachers, environmental, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on across the globe. Please, please join in. Please think of it as a way of improving practice. Think of it as a way of including a wide range of different experiences that can obviously strengthen and improve the case for art education globally. This example today is one of those kinds of advocacy, networking, and sort of advancement opportunities for art education that we're trying to encourage. And obviously, being a member means that you're a part of that community and able to join in. So takes a deep breath just to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this today, and good luck with the rest of the conference, and goodbye.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.